Have you ever listened to your favorite rock tracks and thought, I'd love to get that sound, only to discover that the amp behind it costs 2 or 3 or 5 grand? The good news is it doesn't always have to, because while everyone seems to be chasing the newest boutique amp or the latest model, some genuinely brilliant tube heads have quietly become affordable on the used market. Amps with real history behind them, designed by legendary builders or responsible for shaping entire generations of rock tones. Power! And with that, I welcome you to Bang for the Buck, the series where we look at guitar gear that used to matter, used to cost serious money, and today flies quietly a little bit under the radar. Today we're counting down 3 of my favorite rock legend amp heads for everyone's pocket, rated from 3 to 1. And because I couldn't leave out one particular amp, I've also got a bonus recommendation waiting for you at the end of the video. Before the modular revolution, lunchbox heads were everywhere, but back in 2006 they really weren't. And one day Orange looked at that huge heavy tube amps people were dragging around to rehearsals and asked a simple question: what if we made a proper rock amp that actually fits in the backpack? The result was the Tiny Terror, and whether they intended it or not, they kicked off an entire trend that almost every major manufacturer eventually would follow. The recipe couldn't have been simpler. At its heart, 15 watt Class AB all-tube design powered by 2 EL84 power tubes and 3 12AX7 preamp tubes with a switch that lets you drop the output to 7 watts, and in the front, gain, tone, volume, no effects loops, no channel switching, no built-in reverb, no digital extra BS. Sound-wise, the Tiny Terror is simply a rock machine. Thick British mix, raw attitude, and enough gain to make you grin every time you hit a power chord. A while ago, I had the chance to talk to Charlie Cooper from Orange about his favorite Orange amps. And unsurprisingly, the Tiny Terror was one of them. That says everything to me, at least. Today you can regularly find them on the used market for around 500 euros. Considering this little amp helped start the lunchbox revolution, I'd say that's a bargain. So let me ask you this: would you rather own one amp with a huge personality or one that can do a little bit of everything? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to keep the discussion going, join the TGH Discord, and if you're enjoying this series, don't forget to subscribe. Let's move on, because we still got 2 absolute gems to go. For my number 2 pick, we're traveling to Poland. If I asked you to name boutique amp manufacturers, chances are you would mention Mesa or Friedman or Dietzel, but for years Leboga quietly built some incredibly well-made amplifiers that never really got the international recognition that they deserve. Which is a shame, because these amps are built to an incredibly high standard and absolutely deserve to be mentioned alongside with some other bigger names. Originally, I wanted to put the DS50 in this spot. It's an outstanding amplifier, and in my modest opinion, one of the best boutique rock and high gain amps Leboga has ever built. But after looking at the today's used market, reality is a little different. What is still a fair price for what you're getting, but it's no longer really in the spirit of this episode. Instead, I want to point you out towards the Mr. Hector. The Mr. Hector is a 100 all-tube head powered by 6 L6 power tubes and 4 12AX7 preamp tubes. It features 2 channels, separate EQ sections, switchable boost, a serial effects loop, and enough gain to cover everything from classic hard rock to modern metal without breaking a sweat. Unapologetically built for players who like saturated, articulated, high gain tones, yet it never loses clarity or definition. And the best part is you can still occasionally find these on the used market between 500 and 600 euro. And for this price, you're getting a genuine boutique amplifier from a respected European builder for roughly the price of many mass-produced production amps. Mass-produced production amps, wow, that's hard to say. But if your budget stretches a little bit further, then absolutely keep an eye on the DS50 at around, I would say, 1,200 euro. I'd still call it an excellent investment and one of the finest amps Laboga has ever produced. Jet City isn't exactly a household name. Mention it in a room full of guitar players and you'll either get very confused looks or a blinking eye from a connoisseur. Now mention that Mike Soldano was involved in inventing the Jet City or some of the Jet City amps. Yes, that Mike Soldano, the man behind the legendary SLO 100, and for years he partnered with Jet City to design a range of affordable amplifiers that carried his design philosophy into a price range normal musicians like you and I could actually afford. The JCA 20H is a 20-watt all-tube head running on 2 EL84 power tubes and 5 12AX7 preamp tubes. It's a single-channel design with a master volume, presence control, and a serial effects loop. Just like the Tiny Terror, for example, it isn't overloaded with features. But unlike the Tiny Terror, this amp has considerably more gain on tap and tighter and a more modern voice. And that's exactly why I think these amps are still one of the best buys on the used market when it comes to that genre. They regularly pop up on Reverb or Kleinanzeigen, yet somehow they've never built or they've never reached that cult status as other amps did. Maybe it's because the Jet City logo doesn't carry the same prestige as Soldano, but maybe players just simply overlooked them or didn't know the story behind it. Whatever the reason is, it's our gain. So to me, this is one of those rare cases where you're buying the engineering rather than the badge on the front. And honestly, I wish more people would do that and also watch those videos and give them a like, subscription and stuff like that. Well, you can do it however you want. I'm not forcing you into nothing. Subscribe. So here's my question for you. If you cover up the logos, how much would the name on the front actually influence the buying decision or your buying decision? I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts in the comments. Before we wrap this up, I promised you one more amp. It didn't make it in the ranking, not because it isn't good enough, but more because it's a very different kind of recommendation. I actually got introduced to the Blackheart Killer amp when I was visiting heading from HP42 for a secret project that I can't really talk about right now. Who had this idea? Sitting there with this tiny amp pad or hearing this tiny amp pad, I was thinking, honestly, at first glance, it almost looked way too small to take it seriously. But then I heard it plugged in. And what can I say? The Killer amp is a simple, raw, ridiculously fun 1-watt rock machine that does one thing. Give you proper tube amp attitude at a volume that actually makes sense outside of a festival stage. So if you want a small amp for, let's say, recording or playing at home or just having fun without shaking an entire building, the Killer amp is one of those little weird cult pieces that absolutely deserve a spot on your radar. Maybe that's the lesson here. Great tone doesn't always have to come from the biggest box, the loudest power section, or the most famous logo. Sometimes it comes from a tiny, forgotten amp that nobody takes seriously until they actually plug it in. So now it's your turn. Which forgotten tube pad would you have put on this list? Let me know in the comments, please, because I have the feeling we've only scratched the surface. You know, I want to make more of those videos, and if you have fun watching those videos, again, leave a subscription, like the video, share it around with your friends. Follow me on my social for more guitar content between uploads. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, as I said. And until next time, catch you in the next hangout.